Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we've got something truly fascinating to unpack. We are diving headfirst into the emerging science of whole person care. We're going to uncover how our daily lifestyle habits, everything from how we move to what we eat, right down to how we sleep, actually act as profound biological communication directly with ourselves. But before we get into the weeds, I've got to ask you a big question. Have we literally been looking at the human body all wrong for centuries? For the longest time, there's been this prevailing medical illusion that our health is determined by isolated, easily swappable parts. Like, you have a heart problem, you treat the heart. You have a gut issue, you just treat the gut. But modern science is clearly revealing that this kind of reductionist view is totally missing the bigger picture of how our biology actually operates. Okay, let's really dive into this. Think about conventional medicine for a second. Now, don't get me wrong, modern medicine is absolutely incredible at treating acute trauma and emergencies, but its approach is heavily downstream. It focuses on isolated organs and reactive treatment once a disease has already set in. Contrast that with integrated medicine. This approach focuses on interconnected networks, proactive prevention, and zooming way upstream. The goal is to address the root causes of chronic illness long before they ever manifest as severe clinical symptoms. So, here is our physiological roadmap for today. We'll be looking at 1. The illusion of isolated organs. 2. Regulating stress and hormones. 3. Fuel, recovery, and immunity. 4. Movement, mind, and behavior. And lastly, number 5, the power of biological synergy. Starting us off, section 1, the illusion of isolated organs. Right off the bat, let's be super clear. Integrated medicine isn't some fringe, unscientific concept. It's grounded directly in a highly advanced framework known as systems biology. Basically, systems biology is the understanding that health emerges from dynamic, continuous interactions across interconnected molecular and physiological networks, rather than just isolated organ function. Your immune system is constantly chatting with your nervous system. Your hormones are tweaking your metabolism. The gut is constantly influencing the brain. It is all one brilliantly connected web. So what happens when this web gets tangled? It's kind of like a giant domino effect. Let's say it starts with psychological stress. If that stress becomes chronic, it pushes your nervous system straight into sympathetic overdrive, that exhausting, constant fight or flight mode. This leads to HPA axis dysregulation, which is just a fancy way of saying your body is overproducing stress hormones like cortisol. And finally, that hormonal imbalance directly triggers systemic inflammation. Just like that, a single upstream disruption cascades into the exact foundational mechanism that drives chronic diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular issues, and depression. But here's the really incredible news. Integrated medicine leverages those exact same pathways to stand the dominoes back up. By tapping into what we call the biological mechanisms supporting integration, we can literally hit reset all at once. We're talking about stress reduction, autonomic balance, and hormonal regulation. Add in immune modulation, metabolic optimization, and improved sleep. And we round the whole thing out with nutrition, exercise physiology, behavior modification, and emotional well-being. When you combine all of this, it completely transforms how your body systems work together, building a much stronger, dramatically healthier you. Moving right along to section 2, regulating stress and hormones. You know that danger of being stuck in fight or flight we just talked about? Well, the whole goal of integrative medicine here is to biologically rewire your autonomic nervous system to shift back into rest and repair, what we call parasympathetic resilience. Interventions like yoga, mindfulness, and controlled breathing, they aren't just for relaxing. They are active biological therapies that actually halt the production of harmful stress hormones and force recovery at a cellular level. And what's absolutely wild here is how these physiological effects map across our entire lifespan. Seriously, whether you're a reproductive age guy or girl or transitioning into menopause or andropause, the biological mechanism is powerfully consistent. Practicing yoga decreases cortisol, and that drop in cortisol actively upregulates BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This sparks neuroplasticity, which leads directly to better cognition and brain health, totally regardless of your gender or age. It is essentially a universal biological upgrade. All right, section 3, fuel, recovery, and immunity. This is where we clearly see how these integrated interventions step in as genuine biological medicine. Just look at how practices like yoga actively drive down inflammatory markers. We see a significant reduction in C-reactive protein, which lowers cardiovascular risk. We see drops in cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha, cooling off autoimmune activity and chronic inflammation.
But at the exact same time, it's boosting your antioxidant defenses, cranking up protective markers like glutathione and superoxide dismutase. This whole systemic rebalancing is exactly why these practices are so incredibly effective in clinical rehab for serious conditions like Parkinson's, stroke, and multiple sclerosis.
Now, this massive interconnectedness is exactly why dialing in your sleep and metabolism is just non-negotiable. When we repair our sleep architecture and metabolic pathways, we are optimizing our cells' energy production. Good sleep and solid metabolic health give a massive boost to our insulin sensitivity and our mitochondrial function, the actual powerhouses of our cells. Plus, getting that deep sleep activates glymphatic clearance. This is literally a physical washing process that flushes metabolic waste right out of your brain overnight. If you don't sleep, you don't clear the waste, and the whole system bogs down.
Which brings us to section 4. Movement, mind, and behavior.
Think about this quote for a second. Food is not merely a source of calories. It provides the molecular signals that influence metabolism, immunity, inflammation, hormonal regulation, and cellular function. I mean, that completely flips the script, right? Nutrition isn't some chore, and it's sure as heck not just about weight management. Every single time you eat, you're engaging in a continuous form of molecular communication directly with your cells and your gut microbiome. You're literally telling your body to either fight inflammation or create it. And, the exact same principle applies to how we move. Exercise goes far, far beyond just aesthetic fitness. It acts as a biological medicine on virtually every single organ system in your body. It enhances insulin sensitivity, it strengthens your bones, it supports neuroplasticity, and it prevents everything from dementia to diabetes. In integrative medicine, a tailored exercise prescription is considered just as fundamental as prescribing a pill.
Of course, we really can't talk about behavior without talking about the mind. For way too long, medicine artificially separated the mind and the body. But practices like yoga promote this deep emotional awareness, which naturally radiates outward into better self-control, empathy, and stronger interpersonal communication. Why does this matter biologically? Because emotional well-being directly influences your immune competence. When you're emotionally aware and resilient, you are far more likely to actually stick to healthy behavioral habits, which creates this amazing positive feedback loop for your entire body. And finally, section 5, the power of biological synergy. So, how does all this synergy actually play out in the real world, clinically speaking? Well, we see traditional systems like Ayurveda using highly targeted, personalized interventions, like specific diets, herbs, and yoga, to address the root mechanisms of chronic diseases like hypertension or IBS. Then, look at the broader integrated medicine journey, which puts the patient at the absolute center of everything. Diverse disciplines, from evidence-informed Western medicine to ancient Eastern practices, right up to modern AI-driven predictive health monitoring, they all converge on these shared biological pathways. The whole shebang is working together for one goal: preserving your long-term organ function. It all boils down to this one crucial quote from our sources. Health is maintained not by a single organ, but by the harmonious interaction of multiple biological systems that continuously adapt to internal and external environments. That is biological synergy in a nutshell. It means your sleep supports your hormones support your immune system supports your metabolism, and together, they build an incredibly resilient you. Let's quickly recap our core takeaways for this explainer. By treating the whole person, integrated medicine utilizes combined biological synergy. It halts disease way upstream before it ever becomes an acute emergency. It's all about proactive health creation rather than just reactive disease management. The ultimate goal is long-term organ function preservation, and maybe most importantly, it recognizes that your genes are not your absolute fate. Your daily habits interact with your DNA every day to shape your epigenetic destiny. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question. Your biology is constantly listening to the choices you make every single day. Since you are the absolute architect of your own epigenetic destiny, how are you going to change your molecular communication today? Is it going to be an extra hour of sleep tonight, a more mindful meal, or maybe just a quick walk outside to reset your nervous system? The power is literally in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you all next time.